Then I went again.
Well, he said spiritual dimension.
How precious and how
Unimportant in the world.
became a family.
Everyone else was astonished.
In 1947, Rabbi Menachem Mendel Futterfass, a well-known chassid of the previous Rebbe and later of the Rebbe, was sentenced to 8 years in a Siberian gulag after being caught helping Jews escape from the Soviet Union. His ailing wife and 2 children managed to escape. Rabbi Yosef Yitzhak Liberov is his grandson.
I was once talking to my Zayda, and he told me a very interesting story that he had written a opinion to the Rebbe b'machshava. And he got an answer from the Rebbe on that opinion that he wrote b'machshava. Asked him to explain me exactly what that means. So he told me exactly the way he said it, that's the way it happened. When he came out of Russia in Tafshin Chav Daled, in the Kislev Tafshin Chav Daled, my grandmother had shown him all the letters that she had received for the whole period that she came out of Russia, and they were separated. For the 17 years they were separated, all the letters that she had received from the Friedrich Rebbe, and none from the Rebbe. And this is a letter that they don't understand. The reason that she still put an emphasis on the thing that she doesn't understand what this letter was is because of what the letter had done to them when the letter first came. In other words, the excitement that this letter brought around was ein l'shayr, because knowing that the letters to my grandfather, and it says that hamivrech niskabel, that means he sent a telegram to the Rebbe. Otherwise, the Rebbe wouldn't write that the telegram was accepted. And how could he send a telegram if he was arrested and he's in jail in Russia? You can't even send it. It's just regular to send a telegram out of Russia to Schneerson would be one of the impossible things. And here they say he was caught, he was taken off the train, and he's in Russia, and he's in jail, and he's sending a telegram. It sounded very modern, and they came to the conclusion that it looks like he did escape, and the information that's coming about his arrest is not 100%, and he is probably somewhere in those countries close to Russia, like all the rest of them. They were Poland. They were all refugees, all escaped from Russia, not legally, and they were in Poland or they were in Czechoslovakia at that time, Prague, and maybe he's also in one of these places. And he spotted the date of the letter. So he started thinking, where was he on that day? And from there, he reminded himself, Yud Zayin Iyar was the first day he was put into jail, after the interrogation, which went on for almost about a half a year. So Yud Zayin Iyar he already had his sentence, and he was sitting in his cell already. Being that the few months of interrogation, it was a very dangerous interrogation because he had to make sure not to give out information on other chassidim. So his head was constantly busy with what is he going to answer, and what is exactly going to be the next part of the interrogation, that he shouldn't make any mistakes and shouldn't bring about any problems to any other chassidim. So he had no time to think about himself, about his family. This is exactly the way he's telling me, that ich habe nicht gehabt keine Zeit zu trachten wegen keinem. Ich habe gedacht trachten die ganze Zeit, was entfällt am nächsten Mal, was soll mir rufen. When he finally ended up in his sentence, that's when he says, habe ich gehabt Zeit, I had time. Now I started thinking about, where am I, what's going on, where's my wife, where are my children, and starting to think about the family. That's when he started feeling his matzav, how bad the matzav is. And as he's thinking, he's thinking also how revival to you can schreiben dem Rebbe a brief und beten a broche. This would be the best thing for me. As he's thinking, he reminds himself of the last time he saw the Friedrich Rebbe. The last time he saw the Friedrich Rebbe was Simchas Torah Tofreish Peiches. That was the Simchas Torah before the Friedrich Rebbe, a few days before the Friedrich Rebbe had left Russia to Riga. And he was in Leningrad. My grandfather was in Leningrad. He was still a bocher at that time. He was in Leningrad for Yontif. And he was by the Farbrengen of the Friedrich Rebbe. And the Friedrich Rebbe spoke about his leaving Russia and said, "I wir trachten wegen mir, wir trachten wegen euch." On Yud Zayin Iyar, he was thinking about the Friedrich Rebbe. He's thinking, well, he's writing a opinion, asking for a brocha. And on Yud Zayin Iyar, the Friedrich Rebbe is answering the letter, Hamivrek Niskabel. He went on to tell me that a few weeks later he came to the Rebbe, Yitzhak Kislev, that year he came to the Rebbe, which was about 2 weeks after he arrived from Russia, and the story was very, it was very excited. He was very excited about the story, but he wanted to make 100% sure that there's no mistakes over here. So he approached Chaim Lieberman, and he told Chaim Lieberman the whole story, and he asked Chaim Lieberman if he could check in the archives if he remembers something or not. Chaim Lieberman said he'll check it up, and he came back and he says, I saw the copy of the letter. I remember specifically the Frierdiker Rebbe telling me this is what I should write and send it out. My grandfather was explaining to me how much Yechidus is not totally in the place and how much time it takes, as much as it's totally in the Chassid to the Rebbe, that if the Chassid is Mekusha to the Rebbe and he thinks about the Rebbe, so Yechidus could be so far away also.